Hey, hey, hey. Hi, Facebook. Hi, YouTube. This is Lina Nyamoya. I don't have the rights to that music. I don't own the copyrights. I'm excited. I am a few minutes late, but I was getting the queen herself ready for this live. It's been a minute since I was here. If you're on lunch break, enjoy, and we appreciate you sharing it with us. If you are going to bed, for those abroad, like in Kenya and other parts of the world, let us know that you are spending a few minutes with us before you doze off. If you are whatever you are, thank you for spending a few minutes with us. So for those who are joining me, please share away. This is informative, but it's also exciting and entertaining. So, like I said, I don't have the copyrights to that music. Facebook, don't ding me on it. This is Nina Siri by Israel Mbonyi, I believe from Rwanda. Can you hear the music okay, Daphne? Is it clear on the live? I'm waiting for a few more people to join us. Hey, thank you for the comments already. Going live, interview and discussion and conversation with my special guest, who I'm about to congratulate because she did something big as well. Well, anyway, I'm Lina Nyamoya. Thank you for joining me. I'm excited to be here this afternoon on a Tuesday afternoon and to bring you a special guest. And my special guest is none other than my sister and friend, Dr. Daphine Kaniaru from California.
Yay!
Hi, Daphne.
Hi, Linda.
Let me shut this off so we don't have to listen to that beautiful music that I love. Hi, Daphne.
Hi, Linda. Thank you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
The audio is okay? Awesome. Very cool. Well, welcome to this broadcast or talk show or whatever you want to call it. But first of all, I'm excited I thank God for this opportunity. I'm excited to have you. So for those who don't know us, so we can go straight to the point and make sure we honor their time. What is your name and who are you? Introduce yourself briefly.
First of all, thank you so much, Lina, for the opportunity. Lina is now I can't even remember how long we've been friends, but we met on social media. I think it was LinkedIn and Facebook, all this. Lina has been an inspiration to me, and thank you for having me. So my name is Daphine Kaniaru. Dr. Daphine Kaniaru. I am a physician, family medicine physician, and also lifestyle medicine physician. But my passion is lifestyle medicine. So,
Daphne, do you have headphones? Sira says that there is a lot of echo.
Oh no. Let me get.
Okay, ask Mr. James if he can grab you some headphones, but go ahead. Somebody's complaining there's echo. And we want to make sure we don't echo for people.
Echo, right. How about it's still there? It's still there.
Yeah.
Let me find. That's fine.
Well, too much echo, somebody else says. So we are working on it. We are working on the echo. While we are waiting for that echo to straighten out the mess, let's see. Did you get the headphones or you want me to get some? Let me see if mine will help.
James is getting them for me soon.
Can you hear the music okay?
Yeah, I can hear the music. But the echo, I don't hear the echo now.
Okay, maybe because I have headphones, but Sira, blessings, is the sound better?
Okay.
Daphne, say something because you're the one who spoke with echo. Better now.
Right.
Okay,
Is
awesome.
it better now?
She says so. So we're
Okay.
gonna
Awesome.
we I thought
It's
I
good.
heard it.
Yeah.
I thought I heard the echo too.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, I hope you've shared on your wall. You've shared everywhere. So
Right.
let's make sure that we are clear now. So
Yes.
again, sorry about that for those watching. We were having a little bit of echo, but now we are back. So I just wanted Daphne to introduce herself. By the way, Daphne is a medical doctor from California. She was just saying that, so I'll let her finish.
Okay. Yeah. So my name is Daphine Kaniaru, Dr. Daphine Kaniaru, and from California. I'm a family medicine and lifestyle medicine physician, but my passion is in lifestyle medicine. So that's what I do every day, and we talk more about what that is. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
And so Daphne is a friend of mine. She's born and raised in Kenya. She didn't tell you that part. So I want to just dig a little bit into your story. So you said you're a family medicine doctor, you're lifestyle certified doctor, you are a brand new author. You didn't even say that. You did not say you are. So tell us a little bit about you, like your journey. When did you come here? Those little nieces of mine and nephews and the in-laws, let's talk about that for a little bit. Like, tell us your journey from where you came and how long you've been here. Hi, Baba Jackie. Hi, blessings. Thank you so much. Yes.
Right. So born and raised in Kisii, Kenya, actually in specific, Nyamira. Even though my last name says something else, my husband is Kikuyu, but I'm from Kisii. I came here when I was 19, so I did my elementary, high school in Kenya. I actually grew up with my grandmother, which is something I share with you, Linda. Growing up, and my grandmother was into education, and she bought me, because I was with her in elementary school, she bought me Ben Carson book, Gifted Hands. And she used to tell me, when we used to, malaria back home, get malaria, and she'll take me to the hospital. And then when she'll see nurses walking around, in white, looking all nice and running everywhere, she will say, one day you'll be like one of them. And that, just stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Then she bought me Ben Carson's book, Gifted Hands. And I read that when I was in class 6. And I remember thinking to myself, I'll go to America and I'll go to Johns Hopkins and I'll become a doctor. That's how
Wow.
powerful it was. And, her saying this, and she's passed now, but she passed when I joined. It was my first year of medical school. So she actually did witness me joining
Going
the
to
medical
medical
field. So that was amazing. So I came here when I was 19. And then I went to undergraduate here. I went to New Jersey. That's where I landed when I came to US. Went to undergraduate, Rutgers in Newark. And then I went to Loma Linda Medical School after that. So of course, my passion for medicine has been growing, through the years. And one of the main things, that really made me so much interested in medicine was the teachings in the church. As Seventh-day Adventist, I grew up Seventh-day Adventist. I am Seventh-day Adventist. The teachings in the church in regards to lifestyle, food, and all other lifestyle things that we take, that's so cheap and we don't think so much about it, like exercising and drinking water and sunlight and all these things. So I grew up hearing these teachings and they stuck in my head. So I kept looking, and I remember, in fact, 2001, I went to a Pathfinder camporee and I came back and I was like, I'm not going to eat any animal food at all, after kind of an intense, training or intense teachings about this. So that's kind of where it all started. So I've been really interested in how lifestyle affects disease. So going into medical school, that's one thing I said. I want to go into prevention. I want to know, how do you prevent these diseases? So that's how that happened. Then I chose family medicine because I said, well, I can take care of everyone, still, growing my interest in prevention, right? While I was looking, I didn't even realize, because, lifestyle to me was always tied to Seventh-day Adventists, right? It was always to the church. But then while I was looking, I'm like, whoa, there's actually lifestyle medicine in conventional medicine. It's pretty new. a lot of people don't know about it. So they also teach something that's similar to New Start. If you're familiar, if you're Seventh Day Adventist, you're probably familiar with New Start. Nutrition, exercise, water, these things. In lifestyle medicine, they also have their pillars of lifestyle medicine. So it's not medications, of course, it's lifestyle. So it's talking about plant-based nutrition, stress management, sleep, exercise, social connection, avoiding risky substances. So to me, I was like, oh my goodness, this just mirrors what I've been learning for so long in the church. So I went ahead and got certified in lifestyle medicine last year. So I'm lifestyle medicine certified physician. And so the book that I wrote, that Linda has a copy, and I, of course, I have my author's copy as well. This book was inspired a big part by this book. So I have it right next to me. Lena wrote this book and, she posted it. And I was like, oh my goodness, because I've been thinking, it crossed my mind that I need to write about all these things I've been learning, but I just didn't know what to do with that idea. So when Lena wrote her book, I was like, oh my goodness, so I can write a book too. So on Facebook, I found White Coat Publishers, so that's how I started and then wrote the book. But this book is a combination of New Start, which is what I learned growing up as Seventh Day Adventist, and lifestyle medicine pillars. So that's how I came up with this book. And basically, this is an overview on how you can prevent and reverse chronic diseases. And we can go over what chronic diseases are. But this is, so where I am, I just published this like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks tomorrow. 2 weeks tomorrow. So my next venture is to do coaching. So I want to do coaching because there's.
But before you get there, Daphne, okay, I'm going to slow you down and we're going to go back. So first of all, thank you. Thank you. And sometimes I think I want to just touch on my audience, everybody watching, that sometimes you do stuff for you because it means something to you. So for me, I've been speaking for a while. And the reason I wrote the book was because people were asking me, like, where can we find more material on what you speak about? Yeah. So I was challenged to write, but what you just mentioned is actually is a blessing to me because I do things not thinking about it, but I inspired you to actually write your book. So thank you for that. So going back to your journey before you go back to where you are, thank you everybody watching. I want to take you back, Daphne, because we got a few more minutes to talk, but just let's refocus on your grandmother planted a seed in you. You shared about she bought you a book in class 6. That's like elementary 6, middle school in America.
Right.
So when you were in primary school in class 6, your grandmother put a seed in you but in fact, your grandmother knew Ben Carson back then, the former housing secretary. Yes. The greatest neurosurgeon the black neurosurgeon from Johns Hopkins. So your grandmother bought you the book and knew to plant a seed in you to become a physician.
Yes.
And here we are celebrating you today as a medical doctor in the United States.
Yes.
The same inspiration I gave you to write the book, the same manifestation and planting a seed that grandma gave you, I want you to speak to another person watching this show and thinking, I need to go to medical school. I really need to write my book. I don't know what to do. I just want you to share how challenging, coming from where you were, you had that drive you needed to go. Like you said, you'll go to America and go to Johns Hopkins, which you didn't go, but you went somewhere else.
Yes.
But just share a little bit about that, like that journey, because sometimes it looks like the glory is beautiful, like you're MD. But just talk about a little bit about the challenges of coming here and really having that drive and not stopping at CNA or something else. Not that CNA is bad, but you did do that.
Yes. And, thank you for that, Lena, because it took me almost 2 years before I joined college. And mind you, I came with a green card. It's, there wasn't an immediate push to go to school. So I was, I was living with my uncle in New Jersey. And I remember people asking me, what are you going to study at school? And I remember saying pre-med. And people are like, what's pre-med? Why don't you go, people are so successful, they go into nursing. Why don't you just go into nursing? So, and I remember, even though I was very motivated to go into medical school, when I applied to school to Rutgers, I actually applied to go into nursing.
Wow.
thinking, okay, I will go and then I will do nursing and then I will proceed to medical school, but at least I will have something. You know what I mean? Like if it doesn't work, I will have something good still,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah.
So, but I remember, like you said, people we meet, the inspiration we get from people. The first week I joined school, I met Prerna. And Prerna, if you're watching, if you come to watch this, thank you, thank you. Prerna is from India, and she also, was in Rutgers, undergraduate, and she wants to go to medical school. So she's telling me all these things, and she's saying, I want to go into medical school, and I'm doing pre-med, and I changed my major that week.
Wow,
Can you
wow,
imagine? Because
wow.
I
The
said,
law of attraction, when
yes,
you want something, God puts people in your path
people,
to
yes.
push you in the right direction.
Right. So she pushes me, instead of me going, I will have something to fall onto. Let me do nursing. So I have something, I will have something good still. But I switched, and we were doing chemistry together. So we were chemistry majors together. And she's also a doctor. She's a child psychiatrist. So
Wow.
thank you, Prerna, for the encouragement and for the inspiration. So it was not easy. Even telling people around me, they were like, what is that? Why do you want to do something that, you don't even know that you will actually join medical school? You need to do something that you're doing chemistry. You cannot, if you do chemistry as an undergrad, as a bachelor's degree, you'll probably get paid $20. Why are
Oh,
you doing that? That you need to do something else. But I remember thinking to myself, and I was telling them this, I go, it's medicine or medicine. Like, I have no option. I have to do
I
that.
like that.
So that drive, thank God, when you have, there's that self-determination, self-will, where you know that this is what I want to do and this is what I will do. And thank God that He brings the people, the resources, everything you need to be able to pursue that. And I graduated undergraduate the same year I joined medical school. So graduated in May
Wow.
and joined medical school the same year in August.
Wow. Wow.
And it wasn't easy, Lena, because I was working, I was staying with my uncle, and I'm paying bills, so I'm working at least 40 hours a week. So it wasn't like, easy life. Uh, Working and doing all that I need to do, for upkeep, and also, doing the exams I need for medical school, the MCAT, and making sure that I did all the courses I needed. So it was not easy. But again, knowing, when I remember what grandma said to me and what I really wanted to do, and I have people surrounding me, like Prerna and the rest of the students who are striving also to go to medical school, that really was a big encouragement.
Awesome. What was your first job in America?
Group home. Worked in a group.
That's amazing. Were you a
Yeah.
nursing assistant or a health aide?
Just direct care.
Direct
Yes,
caregiver.
direct caregiver. Yes.
And I want all the people watching and are doing direct caregiving right now, or CNA, or you better know that you can rise, you can use that as a stepping stone to get you to whatever dream that is, whether it's going to nursing school, medical school,
Right.
being a lawyer, starting your business. Not that direct caregiver is a bad job. It's actually a great job because we need a lot of those. We need a lot
Right.
of direct caregivers. But if that's not your dream and you're using it as a stepping stone to get you whatever, look at Daphne Kaniaru, Dr. Daphne Kaniaru, which brings me to the next thing. You went to medical school, you struggled through that, working and going to school. So for those people who hear that, oh, you can't work and go to school, yes, you can. Here is a
Right.
testimony.
Yes.
But going back to your story, going to medical school, working, and now you're a physician, and I can bring you back to talk about that journey and how difficult it was or has been. But you've been blessed and you're here today. So tell us
Right.
a little bit about why you decided to write this book. So let me take you back to, as a public health nurse, I'm thinking the numbers, statistics, the diseases we see. Can you share with our viewers what you've seen, especially being in the space of medicine or healthcare, what you've seen and what your conviction has been to finally produce a book? And I'm talking about, the diseases you've seen that can
Right.
easily be reversed.
Right. There are so many, Lena. The diseases, it's just, 80% of the diseases we have can be prevented. And of course, most of the diseases we have are chronic diseases. So I will say a little bit about the difference. So we have acute diseases and we have chronic diseases. So acute will be something like infection, maybe an accident, a fracture, something that's you treat it and it ends, right? And then we have these chronic diseases which just that they last for months and years, and they're usually lifelong, right? Lifelong diseases. Diabetes, obesity and overweight, heart disease, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, Alzheimer's dementia, cancer, different kinds of cancers, thyroid diseases, and fatty liver disease is becoming a big issue, right? So these are some of the diseases that we call lifestyle, meaning, they're caused by what we are doing, something we are doing or we are not doing that's leading to these diseases. So when I was at the clinic treating patients, I was just seeing a lot of patients. I mean, patients with diabetes. I was like, why is half of my patients on thyroid medicine? Like, what is going on? Something is wrong, right? It can be real, So all these diseases, high blood pressure, high blood pressure is very, very, very prevalent, right? And of course, a lot of weight issues. And we're seeing these diseases in even younger people, in the youth, in the kids. We have, the youngest I have seen with diabetes was like 9 years old. Diabetes type 2, remember? Type 1, you get it younger. But type 2, you shouldn't be seeing type 2 diabetes in a 9
that young, yeah.
Right? That young.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was seeing these diseases, and guess what? We were treating these diseases like an acute disease, where you give antibiotics. But now you're not giving medicines for 1 week, like go take it and be well. No, we are prescribing these medications for 3 months, and you actually give a prescription for a year, right? And then they come back to renew it. So it's just ongoing. And plus, their disease is not controlled. So what happens is you add more medicines. They start having complications, with diabetes especially. They can't see well. They have neuropathy. They have kidney disease. Now what do? You refer them to ophthalmology, the eye doctor. You refer them to the kidney doctor. It's non-ending, right? All this. So I was just frustrated because I'm like, I know better than this to prescribe medications. And then 15 minutes I was getting per visit is not enough for me to start telling.
To educate.
Is never, a lot. Unfortunately, we know that, we are eating food, but a lot of us don't know how food affects us. So when you start having a whole conversation about food, that takes 1 hour to even just start talking about it. So my medical assistant would look at me like, what? You've been here 30 minutes. It's going to 45 minutes. You don't seem like you're going to get done, and you keep going. So I was running behind in clinic because I just felt like I'm not helping the patients. I'm just prescribing medicines. And when they come, the sugar is still high. I'm adding another medicine, and I'm like, no, I'm not helping them. So going lifestyle was much harder because you don't have time. So for me, it became frustrating that I'm not helping them and I don't have the time to do that. So something happened to me.
Okay.
So I got sick. I had a pituitary tumor. I had surgery. So with the surgery, I had to get hormone replacement. So I had to be out of my job for like a year and a half. Actually, that's when I got certified in lifestyle medicine. That's when I wrote the book. So for me, it was like a way of God getting me out of that environment. That I can say was a blessing in disguise, right? I still take my hormones, but I can manage. I'm fine. I can manage with those hormones, but that took me out of that environment so I can really focus. What do I want to do?
Okay, hold on. So I want to have a question for you.
Right.
And I think I'm going to ask the audience, there's also comments here that we might have to address. But going back to, and I'm glad you're okay, because I remember you had called me with the diagnosis and we had to pray for you. And you went through surgery, and thank God you're another success story after surgery. But I want you to clarify for our viewers, because there's a difference between genetic, like things that you cannot help,
Right.
Like type 1 diabetes, you're born into it, like you can't help it. And then there's type 2 diabetes that you can help, and truly we are what we eat. That's
Right.
what you're trying to explain. So I want to just make sure you
Yes.
clarify that for our audience. And actually, for me, looking at it from, it's not just talking to people, but also even just the nation, like even in America, if you look at the numbers with the CDC, we are spending almost $4 trillion.
Yes. Yes.
Four trillion, not billion, trillion
Trillion.
dollars on chronic
Chronic
diseases.
disease. Yes.
So I want you to touch. I'm going to ask you a few questions from your book about the tips for managing some of these things. But before we get there,
Right.
I want you to differentiate for our audience what these lifestyle diseases are that are preventable versus things that you cannot help.
Right.
So if
Right.
you're congenital, genetics, I want you to separate the two so people know that there are things you can prevent and treat, and there are some things that you can help.
Right. So, I mean, there are things definitely that, you know, genes play a big role. There's not much you can do because, yes, you have the gene. But let me tell you something that's interesting. Even the things that we call genetic can, a lot of them can be prevented. You can
Altered.
turn off those genes. You can turn off the genes by your lifestyle. So really, the gene is like a code, and then you can turn on those codes, then which lead to whatever disease. And this is the thing, a lot of diseases now, that it's not about the genes that you have inherited, but we have inherited the culture. We have inherited the foods,
Wow.
because I
Wow.
mean, food is has a lot to do with the culture. It's how we grew up. I can tell you, like, up to 1 year ago, I used to cook my food with oil, a lot of oil. I mean, not like a lot, but that's how I grew up. That's how I cooked my food. I cook
I
my
still
salad,
do. Ugh.
oil. Yes. So a year ago, I stopped using oil because I was reading more into it, how it causes inflammation, it's empty calories, leads to weight gain, and all these things. So I was like, okay, if I can cook my food, it tastes good without the oil, then I'm not going to do it, right? So all I'm saying is, yes, genes, we don't have much we can do about it. There's like polycystic, what do you call it? Like kidney disease. There's polycystic kidney disease, right? Which you end up with like kidney failure because you just form cysts in your kidneys, and that leads to kidney failure. So a lot of things like diabetes, when I went to medical school, they told us, well, it seems like the family that has diabetes will tend to have diabetes. So we think that, okay, then diabetes is in the family. I'm just going to get it. Let me say here a difference between type 1 and type 2. And Lena, you were talking about this. So type 1, well, you're not born with it, but you get it mostly in your younger years because of a virus, either viral infection or an immune attack, right? The virus can lead to an immune attack. And let me tell you, one of the things that also been linked to type 1 diabetes is milk consumption. So we are drinking this cow milk, which also now triggers our immune system to attack our own cells, and it attacks the cells that make insulin, right? So now you can see how the lifestyle also plays part even into type 1. Now, type 2 is really, really a lifestyle disease. It's something we are doing. And a lot of misconception with the starch, right? I heard a lot of people say, well, it's a lot of starch, especially our African food. We eat a lot of starch. But actually, starch is not the problem, because if we need our body, each cell in our body runs on glucose. We need most of that. If you look at plant foods, which we should know that as human beings, actually our primary food is plant foods. Yes, we are omnivores. We can eat, animal-based food. But if you look back in Genesis 1:29, the food God gave us was plant-based, right? So our cells run on carbohydrates. So carbohydrates, well, we differentiate between processed and unprocessed carbohydrates. So like sweet potatoes, cassava, whole wheat, fruits, and other grains, right? Like the corn, which is maize. We're talking about those kind of whole carbs. And then there's carbs that are processed, the white flour, the white rice, the white pasta, sugars, because of all the pastries we eat. So there's a difference between those two, because again, the problem with the processed flours, they're also adding a lot of butter, a lot of sugars, and a lot of other stuff. So people think that the carbohydrates are the problem. But now, if we're eating carbohydrates that are full of fats and sugar, it is a big problem. But if you are eating complex carbohydrates, beans and grains and fruits and starchy vegetables, that's completely healthy carbohydrates. And our diet, because every cell needs glucose, so our diet should be high in carbohydrates. But now we reversed it. If you see a plate of most of us, half of it has meat in it. Meat doesn't have carbohydrates. The only animal food that has carbohydrates is milk. And milk is not natural to us. Just think of it. Milk is for the baby cow. Milk is very high in fat. See how the baby cow goes from...
So we are stealing from the baby cow.
Yes, we are stealing from the baby cow. And the baby cow goes from, birth to a big, cow in just weeks, months, right? Because that product, that milk is high in fat. Back home, at least we let the cow, we let the calf drink the milk. Do you know that in America and in other places where we actually have these livestock specifically for milk, they take away the calf in 24 hours. They take it away. So they basically deny the calf of their milk, and they give us the milk. Guess what? Especially blacks, I will address us. Most of us are lactose intolerant. So we have this product recommended to us for calcium and vitamin D, which we can't even tolerate. Because guess what? We do not need milk beyond infancy. The lactase, which is the enzyme to digest lactose, we lose it. After infancy, we lost it, a lot of us. So when we drink amaroranu, I'll use that word, cattle milk, it's at least broken down. It's better. We can do better with that in terms of digesting it. But now when we look at the plate, the dietary recommendations in America, and they're recommending milk as being part of the plate, that you need 3 servings of dairy. Guess what? In fact, one doctor sued the USDA for recommending milk, saying that it was racist. He said, you know that blacks and Asians cannot tolerate, more than 50% cannot tolerate this product you say they should be taking. So all I'm trying to say, this is not natural to us. And it has been linked to a lot of problems, and even thyroid disease. I was talking about why so many people are on thyroid medicine, because we eat this protein from milk, which then mounts an immune attack, which attacks our thyroid and causes it to either be overactive or underactive, right? So our natural foods should be plant foods. And I'm not saying, I know I am plant-based, I talk about that, but my goal is not to say, well, all of you need to be plant-based. All I'm saying is our food, most of our food needs to come from plants.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that, because I challenged you to differentiate. And obviously, I know the passion you have about reversing disease and making sure people understand the dangers of what we eat and how harmful that can be to our bodies. But then going back, Dr. Sam Goya is laughing that he recently diagnosed himself with the lactose intolerance. But Dr. Goya, you can do that because you know what you've been eating and how it's been making you feel. But I think going back to Dr. Daphne, so for the people watching, I'm interviewing, or we are having a conversation with Dr. Daphine Kaniaru. She's a brand new author. In fact, a week ago, she published a book, The Future of Medicine to Prevent and Reverse Chronic Diseases. And now I'm going to go to the segment of talking about these chronic diseases. I've been a nurse for many years. Some of you know that. She's a medical doctor in the same space. And I am a believer that prevention is better than cure. Literally and figuratively. Literally meaning you don't want to be sick. It's better to prevent something before you get sick. The depth of it, it's that it's costly. You feel sick. You feel harmful, and you can die literally from these things. So, Dr. Daphne, your book addresses most of these things, and I want you to think about the tips of like things that can happen, like you mentioned butter, heart disease, clogging of pores, and you can talk about that. But you can talk about cancer. You recently had a diagnosis of your pituitary tumor yourself. We have friends who are undergoing chemotherapy and radiation as we speak, through treatment of different diseases, and we don't know the causes. However, we know some of them are caused by diet and things like that. Whether it's lung disease from smoking, things you can do to prevent that, or exposing yourself to unhealthy air. Whether it's a stroke, you know very well that cholesterol is a big baby on things like that. Alzheimer's disease, you mentioned that in your book. Diabetes, you just talked about it. Kidney disease, we are doing things that are very hard on our kidneys and liver from the foods we eat. So now I'm going to bring you to say, what are some of the tips to prevent these things? Because you really break them down beautifully in your chapters in your book. But what are some of these natural things that are uncostly that we can use to prevent these diseases?
Right. I focused, like in the book, I think 30 pages in the book is focused on nutrition, because really that's what I focus on. I feel like people understand, like it's easy for people to get it, like exercise. I feel like people, familiar with these things, they might not be familiar about things like sunlight, how that affects them, maybe clean air, stress. People know about stress. But yes, I want to say that most of my book talks about nutrition because it's such a big part of us, right? We eat at least 3 times a day. We cannot get away from it. You can't say, I'm not going to eat, because you're going to die after some time. So we have to eat, and that's why we have to use it. Hippocrates talked about using food as medicine, right? Let food be your medicine, Hippocrates, the father of medicine. So using food as the medicine, and we have to go back to those plant foods. And I talk about my own experience growing up, thinking we are eating poor people food. We're eating skuma here every day, and 2 pieces of meat, and these beans, and we boil potatoes, sweet potatoes, and we boil cassava, and we eat. I used to think that's really poor people. And then we go outside, get berries, chinken, and then we call them chinken, and nekegusi. So we just go there and eat this kind of foods. So I used to be like, oh, because we can't afford. When I used to go to school and see, students coming in with butter, Blue Band and jam and quencher, all these things. I'm like, well, I can't afford these things. I'm going to work hard and go to school so I can afford these things. But I don't eat any of that now, because of course I learned about what this does. So we have to use food, and the foods, if you look anywhere in the literature, it'll tell you that the foods that have the most effect in our health are whole plant foods. Whether you become, even if, whatever you call yourself, vegan, what do you call it? If you call it flexitarian, vegetarian, whatever you decide that your diet is, most of your foods have to be whole plants. And a lot of people actually have a problem with this. Even what we say, oh, well, I'll eat meat in moderation. But let me ask you though, because when I started doing this, even when I became plant-based, I became plant-based because of health. But actually, I've become very passionate about animal cruelty and environment preservation, because of just the way that, we slaughter 70 billion animals every year for food. And you know what that means? The foods, we have to feed all these animals. 80% of soybeans go to feed animals. Corn, think of corn, 40% feeding animals. Guess what? Animal agriculture is a cause of hunger in the world, because if we use that food to feed people, I'm telling you, when I buy beans in my house, I buy like a bag of maybe 5 pounds. It's in my house for months. I can cook 1 cup of beans and we'll eat for 2-3 days. Guess what? That is maybe $1 something for the 1 cup. If you bought meat that cost, to feed a family in one meal, it's not gonna be $1 something. It's gonna be
No,
$5 in,
it's a lot of money.
it's a lot of
And
money.
going back, and I know you're very passionate about that, and obviously we all should be. And honestly, it's not anything, it's common sense, and really, like you said,
Right.
something to think about and reflect on. So going back to I just want you to mention the few things other than, okay, so you've talked about nutrition, you've
Right.
talked about like the not just what we eat, but also how we eat it. So fresh foods are important. I
Fresh
love how you
plant foods.
joked about poor people food, like the fruits and amapera, chinken, and those things
Right,
that we
right.
used to see, and we are like, oh, I want quench and biscuits, I want Britannia and
Yes,
and
yes.
chips, like
Right.
nice things, but not realizing that those are processed foods that are not that good for
Right. They're
you.
not, they
And
don't have nutrients.
exactly. But
Right.
now going back to a few more tips that I look in your book, and I want you to touch on, this country is very stressful.
Right, right.
So there's a lot of stress, and I know you've written a whole chapter on stress management. You've
Right.
talked about things like sunlight, you've talked about water. I want you to touch a little bit of those as your tips for
Right.
managing the diseases, the stress, the everything.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Linda, for bringing me back. You realize that when it comes to food, will take hours, me talking about food. So let me get away from the food for now. But again, I want to leave you with this. Whole plant foods, I want to close that chapter so I can move on to the other things. So the more whole plant food you eat, the whole grains like oats and millet and whole corn, and then legumes, beans. Do you know 70% of Americans are constipated because we don't eat the food that have fiber. Only plant foods have fiber. So beans, lentils, peas, and fruits and vegetables, and nuts and seeds. So we'll leave that for now, and I'll move on to the next things. Exercise, definitely having movement, not necessarily going to the gym, but doing chores at home, taking kids to the park, walking. 30 minutes of walking every day will do wonders, to your body. And then making sure you're hydrated. And hydration is not just water, but if you're eating fruits and vegetables, they're also high in water. So hydrating this way. And sunlight. Did you know that we are afraid of sunlight? And a lot of diseases actually caused from the lack of sunlight. And what I was shocked, even some cancers, Hodgkin lymphoma, some leukemia, colon cancer, there's a lot of harm from not getting enough sunlight because we don't want skin damage, we don't want skin cancer. But actually, of what we are afraid of is not even causing a lot of problems and disease and dying than what we are not afraid of, right? We are avoiding the sun for skin cancer, but actually we're getting heart disease, we're getting cancer, we're getting so many other musculoskeletal problems with bones from avoiding the sun. So you need to get some sunlight. And for us in America, it's a bit of a challenge. So you may need a supplementation, but still you need to get outside, because guess what? When you get outside, your mood is better, your sleep is better, right? Talking about stress is the next thing, right? We are very stressed. Lina can tell you this, where like two parents are working, you're running everywhere, kids, and then you have kids, you're going to school, you're doing all kinds of things, single parenthood, all these troubles that we have, in America. So we have to figure out how do we resolve these issues. Like 40% of marriages end in divorce. How do we resolve these issues we have? How can we have at least a parent at home who is stable, to take care of kids, take care of the family, so we are not like highly stressed. And I'm for, because I went to school, I'm for, as women going to school, but our first responsibility is to our families, to our kids, and to our family, to our husbands. So how do we balance that, still bringing income and doing something, but being available? How do we do that? And reducing that stress and sleeping, because we glorify not sleeping, and it's a big issue. Sleep can affect your mental health, sleep can affect your physical health, especially the way we work, right? With 24 hours, we're working all this shift, night shift, late evening shifts. and we're not getting enough sleep. So sleep is very important, and sleeping early in the night is even more important, like by 10 being in bed, because you get restorative sleep early in the night, which is good for your brain to clean up and rejuvenate your body, to rejuvenate. And then you get what's called REM sleep more later in the night, which is good for your memory consolidation and all that. So sleep is another one. Social connection, I talked about that. Our kids, like, what's happening there, a lot on technology, on social media. We are so busy, we are going to school and working and all this, and what's happening with our kids, and their social media connection with the rates of depression and suicide and all these different things, happening to us. And I talked about single parenthood, uh, happening everywhere. So these are problems we need to figure out. How do we change this? Because it's a trend, and now in America and probably everywhere in the world, being you are in a group, but you're still alone. You are with people, but you're alone. People are on their phones. Like what's happening. So the social connection is a big one. In fact, it's even considered as a bigger risk than high blood pressure and high cholesterol when it comes to disease, because of how much being socially isolated is really a bad thing, right?
And actually, it's funny that you say that because loneliness can be a diagnosis. But I want to just share what I read the other day
Right.
in Amsterdam, I believe it's in the Netherlands, where they actually give college credit to students to go visit the elderly in a nursing home, to go sit and visit with them so they can learn and listen to their stories, but really addressing loneliness with the elderly because they're alone in those secluded places.
Yes.
And it's beneficial for the young students because number one, they learn to get the wisdom. Number two, they learn to socially connect with other people. And number three, they get college credit. So I thought that was pretty cool in trying to create a space of support. But going back to what you shared, I want you to talk about sleep. And I think someone had asked me this question about obstructive sleep apnea. Or say, like we call it in the other streets where we live at, but obstructive sleep apnea. For those people who are watching, if you've had somebody snoring, somebody really tired during the day, even though they slept throughout the night, somebody just miserable from, and then for the other people who have to watch that stuff, and often it's actually weight related, which goes back to exactly why you wrote the book. So I want you to address that just a little bit to give people tips on how to navigate around that. And I want to be cautious of those who work nights because we do know that we live in a 24-hour economy. Not everybody can manage to sleep by 10, like the physician says. However, if you can, that's what she's saying. Try to utilize your time wisely. So going back to sleep apnea, Madam
Sleep apnea.
Doctor.
Sleep apnea is such a big problem. And we see it even in kids, again, because obesity and overweight is affecting everyone. So snoring, sleepiness during the day, mood changes. And then you start to develop things like high blood pressure, from this. So once you have the symptoms, definitely, you do need to get a diagnosis where they will do a sleep study to see how you are. Basically, your carbon dioxide level goes high because you get blocked. Your muscles, when they relax, it blocks your airway. So it blocks oxygen. So your carbon dioxide concentration goes high while your oxygen concentration goes low. And you basically just wake up gasping for air for some people, like you were choking, right? So this problem, a lot of people with this issue, because again, it's because of the neck, thickened neck, it can be resolved with weight loss. And I can say this, a way to lose weight is not really like exercising a lot. It is the food, because on average in America, we are consuming 500 more calories every day. And probably not just in America, it's everywhere really, right? So if you're consuming excess calories like this and we're eating high fat foods, because again, I'll come back. What's causing weight gain is not those good carbohydrates. It's the fats we are adding in the food, and eating high fat foods, the meats and the chickens and the fish and dairy products, right? When I go to the store, I'm reading everything. I'm like, wow, why is everything with dairy? Why is everything with oils? Like, what's happening? All these processed foods. So we want to address the diet, and that will address the weight. and resolve a lot of obstructive sleep apnea. But for some people, maybe you might need to get some airway pressure, like positive airway pressure, because sometimes it's so bad where like it's really affecting you. But maybe for the meantime, while you're working towards losing the weight, maybe you do need that. But get it addressed, get checked, get the study done.
Awesome. And so as we conclude, I want you to think of a few things to share with people like that they can do, even just 5 tips of things that they can do, even just simple. And I'm talking about activity and things like that. But you shared nutrition, which you're very passionate about. You're going to have to come back and focus on just one disease and teach us on how to reverse it, whether it's diabetes or cancer or high blood pressure or anything that is reversible, but also even just arthritis when you think about weight and things like that. But going back to your book talks about, and I'm actually looking at it now. I have Dr. Daphine's book, and by the way, thank you for the shout out in your book. I was smiling when you said, "Oh, I put you in there. I didn't ask you, but you're in there." I was like, "Oh, thank you." I'm not complaining. So, but I want to just touch on our audience that are watching. So, Dr. Daphine's book talks about our health, but more importantly, she focuses on nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, avoiding risky substances. And we live in a country now where even brownies at the potluck at church are being laced with weed or marijuana, or we are in a fentanyl crisis. Someone can give you saw what happened to Dr. Licky in the bathroom the other day. Someone can give you a piece of gum or a gummy, and suddenly you are reacting to some drug that you took. Obviously, clean air, it's so important to be, even just getting out of your office and stepping out to just feel that. You talk about sleep, that's a big one, social connections, faith and health, and that's a big one for me, the spiritual well-being. Without that vertical connection, it's very difficult to manage and navigate the stresses of the world. And of course, stress management, and from LNG's teachings, time with nature. And I think, I don't know how hard we can stress that, because I always feel so bad for the lifestyle we have. Everything is indoors. Our elderly, we end up putting them indoors. But if you can, once again, for those who are able and capable to move and be in the spaces of these, all the main things I mentioned are free. Whether it's prayer, spiritual meditation, whether it's sunlight, stepping out, whether it is water, whether it is sleeping and resting. And you know very well that companies are actually paying people to take power naps, because that's how important it is to recenter yourself. So, Dr. Daphine.
Yes.
You're a medical doctor. You are lifestyle certified. You're a brand new author. How can people find your book?
Right. So my book is on Amazon for now. So you can find it. It's The Future of Medicine to Reverse and to Prevent and Reverse Chronic Diseases. So
yes, ma'am.
Yes. So you can find it on Amazon.
Very good. And it's by Dr. Daphine Kaniaru, MD, DIP, ABLM. That's a long one. What is that?
Yeah, that's a Diplomate American Board of Lifestyle Medicine.
Wow, DeBalm. Okay, DeBoblum. All right, so that it's on there. It's this little one at the corner there. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's somewhere
Diplomat,
there. Yeah.
DLM. Yes.
Anyway, so I know this has been exciting. Can you imagine we're almost at 53 minutes? So I want to just be honorable so we don't go over an hour. But so what's next for you? Are you still practicing medicine, by the way?
No, so I haven't. I don't plan to, honestly, because again, as I said, unless I have my own, practice where I can do lifestyle medicine, it's going to be hard for me to go back prescribing medicines again when I am preaching de-prescribing or getting off the medicines. So I'm focusing more on coaching. So if anyone I'm focusing on diabetes and women. If you go on my Facebook, it says I'm helping women reverse diabetes. It's just a niche, but I'm helping anyone, really, honestly. And then it's not just diabetes, it's high blood pressure, and it's, high blood pressure, heart disease, all these other problems, PCOS and fertility problems with women that is related to food and weight and all that problem, preventing cancer, preventing Alzheimer's, all these lifestyle so-called diseases, weight loss and all that. I can help you with that. But I just feel like, because diabetes is just a big disease, it affects so much. And you can tell me, because you do insurance, if somebody comes to you and they have diabetes, it's a big red flag, right? It's a big red flag when it comes to, because of all the complications that come with it. It accelerates heart disease, kidney disease, strokes, heart attacks. Everything is just a big issue when you have diabetes. So that's why I'm really focusing on that. And it's reversible. For a lot of people, type 2 diabetes is reversible. So that's what I'm focusing on, doing coaching. Just started collaborating with another physician who is in lifestyle medicine, Dr. Williams. We just started a study club. You can check it. I will be posting it on my wall. You can check it out and join our study club. So we do it every Sunday. We just changed the time to accommodate my friends, our people from Kenya and Africa. We changed the time to 8 a.m. Pacific time, which is like 6 p.m. in Kenya, on Sunday. So I'll post that so you can join. It's paid, of course. So check it out. There are different tiers of what you want to achieve in the program. But there's also individual coaching. If you want individual coaching, it's also on my website. It's easy. My website, it's Daphine.Kaniaru.md.com. You can book to get your coaching, either 1 hour or 6 weeks. So that will go into more details of what you want to do, reversing.
So did you say www doctor?
Dr. Daphine.Kaniaru.md.com.
Like DR?
Yes, Dr. Daphine Kaniaru.md.com.
Okay, I'm gonna do it in caps, so maybe make sure it's the right one on the screen. Is that it?
Exactly. Thank you, Lina.
All right.
So I'm doing that, and I'm also planning to write more. I want to write specifically about diabetes reversal, so that will be next. And a recipe book. I started doing this oil-free cooking, so I want to have a resource, especially for our people, because our people will love our skooma, of course. They're like, how am I going to cook my skooma without oil? How am I going to cook this without oil? So that's something I really want to do. So
I want to read the one that says, eat the poor people food. That's healthy for you. Eat the poor people food.
I should write a book with that title. That sounds amazing. But also, if you want me to speak, I am ready to speak about about the book, of course, and many other books that I'm planning to write. But yes, I want to speak about lifestyle medicine, how to prevent and reverse these diseases. So if you need me to come speak for your organization, for your church, for anything, let me know.
I love this. So thank you so much. We were just talking with Dr. Daphine Kaniaru. She is a medical doctor, a lifestyle certified doctor, medicine. She's focused on reversing and preventing and actually treating chronic diseases, so you don't have to go through that, spend the money on it. Diabetes costs, I think, I don't know how many billions every year, just for insulin and management and drugs. And like you said, diabetes is a big one because it affects you. If you are not managing it, you'll end up with amputations. If you're not managing it, you'll end up with another system failing, because that's how important insulin is in our bodies, and the sugars and processing of all of that. So I'm glad you're here and informing our viewers and our community, and you've written a book that is going to be working while you're sleeping. That's a blessing for people all over the world. This book is not just for the Americans, it's for anybody around the globe. So you can get it and then reach out to Dr. Daphine if you want her specific services. You heard her talking about whether it's teaching you how to manage. Physical inactivity actually costs billions in the US as well. Like just not moving. Guess what happens? Then you get a drug for arthritis, and then guess what happens for joint pain and your back pain? And guess what? You have a side effect, and that side effect needs another drug. So pharmaceutical companies are making money, but we are dying. So just make sure you are doing things that prevention is better than cure. So I just wanted to make sure all of you are getting Dr. Daphne. I'm excited to be our first host here in the African community to share her book, to share her wisdom, to share her knowledge, and truly proud of you, young lady.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor, Lena. Thank you so much. You have a big heart, and thank you.
You're very welcome. To our viewers, Samwaya, Doro, Naomi, Ruth Shimaka, oh my gosh, Amara, my brother from the West Coast, Mamake Tiff, you've been here throughout. Samilangat, blessings, Rebecca, Betty, Janet. I can't say all of you if I missed you. I just want to give a shout out to Robin, Sami, my brother, Auntie Lioness, Kenya, James Kaniaru, the husband himself. By the way, that's Dr. Daphne's husband from California. Everybody who's been with us and shared a few minutes. My cousin Denise from Nairobi. Thank you so much. May God bless you. Let's live healthy, because truly our health is our wealth, and we cannot enjoy our wealth if we don't have good health. And like she mentioned, if you have a hemoglobin A1C of above 9, you're automatically denied insurance. You're disqualified. So it's so important to manage your health from all sections. If you have so many drugs for blood pressure, guess what? You won't qualify. So that all these things are related. So don't discount it. Learn it, prevent it, and live a happy life. May God bless you. Have a good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Daphne.
Thank you, Lena. And thank you all our viewers today.